nightmare. And this is the video she wanted me to watch. Hey, the one showing up in the live chat with a donation. Thank you so much. Tired. $2. The one, thank you so much, man. Appreciate the support, buddy.
I've worked as a nurse in multiple hospitals and facilities. Before the current hospital I work at, I worked at a geriatric hospital 30 minutes from my house. I had experience working with older patients before, so this was nothing new to me. I had been working at this hospital for only a couple of weeks, and you'll soon understand why. This was on my second to last shift at this hospital, unbeknownst to me at the start of that night. I was working the graveyard shift, and I was running on negative hours of sleep. I was assigned to the—
Oh gosh, I remember working third shift, which is the night shift at my security job. Yes. Sometimes I'd work 12 hours, but you guys are what kept me entertained. I would do live streams in the guard shack. Some of you guys probably remember, if you've been watching me for years, I used to do live streams on my phone in the guard shack. Brandon, thank you so much for the $3 super chat, man. Woo! Thank you guys. Appreciate the support.
Alzheimer's ward. The patients in this ward absolutely adored me. My presence as a young girl in her 20s among the residents of this ward who were otherwise left to themselves to float around in their minds, I'm sure saw me as a breath of fresh air. Someone who could tie them to the now or to the everyday. If you're just left—
No, Mr. Baker. I haven't worked as a security guard for probably over 4 years. I'm trying to remember exactly. It's been a while. I've been blessed. I have this YouTube channel and I have another YouTube channel where I collect coins. That's another hobby of mine. Metal detecting and coin collecting. Between DKRACK and my other coin channel, Dig and Dave, I pretty much am able to do YouTube full time. So I'm very blessed that I'm able to make videos and do streams and make enough money to pay my bills. So I've been very blessed that I can do YouTube for a job. So
yourself, you can mentally go to other places, but with someone else in your space, you're tied to that moment in time. I was dealing with a number of patients that night, but one was a little more restless than the others. Her name was Lena. This was my first night dealing with her, and she kept telling me anytime I'd enter her room about the voices she kept hearing and the man dressed in black she kept seeing in the corner of the room. The other lady in her room requested her curtain be closed before my shift started so that Lena would leave her alone.
Guys, my wife Brianna worked as a CNA at a nursing home for like 2 years. She doesn't work there anymore, but I think it was about a year and a half ago she worked at this nursing home for 2 years. So she has some crazy stories. My wife Brianna would see stuff in the hallway at nighttime, at the end of the hallway. I might have to get my wife Bri on a live stream sometime and she can tell some of the stories, but she said there was this old man who he would always talk to himself and say there was like a woman in the room with him, but he was the only man in the room. I forgot about those stories, but yeah, my wife Bri has some creepy stories from a nursing home she worked at.
She was a sweet lady that smiled whenever I was around her, but she didn't say much and was very forgetful. Since I started my shift around 9 p.m., most of the patients were asleep by 11, but not Lena. Whenever she called me into the room, she'd be frightened of these alleged voices she was hearing, and the man in black that kept staring at her in the corner of the room. Not gonna lie, it was creeping me out a little. I believed that in her mind she was seeing and hearing these things, and I sympathized with her because I imagined them to be very scary. But still, I tried my best to calm her down and get her to go to sleep. I didn't want to turn on the TV to calm her down because I wanted to be courteous.
Hey, Big Sister Wolf, I'll try to make a video sometime on how to make a reaction video. It's pretty easy. You just need a microphone and a webcam or some type of camera. But I can show you guys like how to set up OBS with the webcam and the video and stuff. It's pretty easy. It's not too hard. Guardian, I did not get fired from my security job. I actually quit because I legit, 4 years ago, I was making more money off YouTube than working 12-hour shifts at my security job. It only paid like a little over $9 an hour, so I quit. I would rather make YouTube videos at home than go sit at a guard shack for 12 hours and make less money.
Of the other patient in the room. I held Lena's hands and told her it's okay, to breathe and to relax. I reminded her that she wasn't here alone, and I was always
Dad
just a
11,
call
what's
away.
up?
This seemed to do the trick. Lena relaxed for a while, and the next time I came in the room, she was asleep. Once most, if not all, of the patients are asleep, the night goes much slower. Time almost moves in reverse. An hour or two later,
yeah, Manny.
I was in the linen room stocking my cart.
Guys, if you watch my old videos, the background's the guard shack. I'd be there 12 hours sometimes, and there'd be no trucks or semis coming in, so I would just sit there in the guard shack bored. I'd bring my laptop with me, set my camera up. A lot of my old reactions, a lot of my old angry grandpa reactions too, were filmed in the guard shack.
When I heard something in the room. It was a relatively small, dead quiet room. I had the door closed too. That's why hearing another noise was weird.
Yeah, Mr. Baker.
Saw nothing, and resumed stocking my cart. Then I felt what I can only describe to be a hand on my shoulder. I looked at my shoulder, jumped, and screamed, but there was nothing on my shoulder. There was no one in the room. Yet I knew I felt something large basically grab my shoulder. I went out in the hall for a second to peek my head. No other nurses in sight. Dead quiet.
It's a freaking ghost.
What I was doing. I continued stocking the cart until it was full. Then I turned to face the door, and I fell to the floor and started screaming as my heart was immediately in my throat. There was a man dressed in black standing outside the door, looking through the glass, smiling.
What?
My screams were loud enough to wake the entire ward.
No.
The man disappeared out of sight through the glass window of the door. Seconds later, the door opened.
Guys, we're at 94 likes. We're only 6 likes away from 100. Let's go.
I asked her if she saw the man dressed in black.
Sinister!
Her response was, "What man?"
What's up, man? I haven't seen you forever. Sinister RP. What's up, brother? You have any new scary ghost videos? I'll have to do a stream in the future. If you have any scary ghost videos, I'll have to react to them.
There's no one else here. We checked all the rooms in the ward. There wasn't anybody dressed in black in there. My screams woke Lena from whatever light sleep she must have been in, and when I came into her room, she started talking of the voices. This time the screams, which she didn't know were my screams. I asked her what this man in black looked like, if he was smiling.
I'm packing my bags, I'm out of there.
And I noticed her eyebrows point down, as her expression changed to look the most focused I'd seen her the entire day. She asked, "How did you know?" And even with my heart still racing, I felt it skip a beat as she said this. She started screaming now, screaming, "Get me out of here, he's coming." The other nurses came in and tried to calm her down. I was switched to a different ward that night with someone else, and I eventually ended up going home early because I was just so freaked out.
Okay, Sinister.
I texted the head nurse the next day that my next shift would be my last, that the experience traumatized me, and that I didn't really want to be in that building anymore. I got as friendly of a response as I could have hoped for. I've never been diagnosed with...
By the way, guys, is the stream looking okay, and does the audio sound okay as well? We haven't had any issues in a little bit. As far on my end, everything looks good. But there hasn't been any lag or anything, has there? I hope. I hope not.
anything, nor have I ever dealt with hallucinations of any kind. I'm aware of the effects of lack of sleep, but this was next level. I don't know if my mind started playing tricks on me from what Lena was telling me all night, but the feeling of the hand on my shoulder, the image of the smiling man behind the glass door, matching the description.
The smiling man. Hey, thank you, Patrick Parent. What's up, man?
Supernatural occurrences.
Thanks for the thumbs up.
I hope it was once in a lifetime. Before the next story, I want to thank Guardio for sponsoring this video. Stories like
Guardio did not sponsor my channel, so
painful head back of at work. I heard it at work. Really serious on or anything. So I'm not sure how I caught it or who I could have caught. Confusion, sleepy, serious. Standing was too much, so I went back to bed. For a second time, I heard a voice.
Oh, there we go. I had to get at the right spot.
3 years ago, I contracted bacterial meningitis. I live in South Florida. I don't believe there was an outbreak going on or anything, so I'm not sure how I caught it or who I could have caught it from. I started developing really bad symptoms: painful headaches, confusion, sleepiness, nausea, and lack of appetite. But when the hallucinations started, that's when I knew I had something really serious. Laying sick in bed while my husband was at work, I heard a child's voice call Mom from downstairs.
What's up, Jenno?
I
Mom.
dragged myself out of bed to look down the stairway to
Hell
call my
no.
husband's name. Of course, he didn't answer because he was at work. The headache I had from standing was too much, so I went back to bed. For a second time,
awesome, man. I'll
I
have
heard
to
a voice
see,
call
okay?
from downstairs. It said hello.
Hello.
I picked up the phone and called my husband, freaking out to him into the phone that I was hearing a scary child's voice from inside the house, and that I thought I was hallucinating. He heard how distressed I was over the phone, and so he left work early to bring me to the hospital.
Hell
While
no.
waiting for him to get home, I changed out of my pajamas, and while doing so, I had to run to the bathroom to throw up. As I was mid-throwing up, I heard another voice from
Hello,
outside
more
of the
like
bathroom.
goodbye.
I couldn't hear what it might have said, nor could I tell if it sounded the same as the other voice I heard. I was losing my mind. I wasn't diagnosed until I arrived at the hospital, and apparently, if untreated, what I had could be very serious, even fatal. The doctor told me the hallucinations part was rather unusual, but not unheard of. I was given antibiotics through a needle shortly after I arrived at the hospital with my husband. The doctor told me that I was fortunate to have come to the hospital.
Hey, Sinister, I've been great, man. Nothing to complain about. I saw your message. Sorry I didn't respond. You said you haven't been able to explore much. Hopefully you find some new places in 2023. 2022 is almost over here in just a couple days. So best wishes to you and Jenno for the next year, the new year. Hopefully you guys can find some creepy places to explore and maybe get some good videos.
So quickly, as if I had waited much longer, this could have had lasting effects or possibly have been fatal.
Dang.
My husband stayed with me for a few hours in the room. I was told I was going to have to stay there for a few days to a week, given the severity of my symptoms. Around 10 o'clock, my husband left to go home, as he had work the next day. The nurse told me call her if I should have any issues. Though I still felt like
I'm not
absolute
sure,
death,
Yoshi.
I nodded off pretty quickly. I started having this dream where my ex-husband was in the room, over my bed, looking down at me, talking. He was saying
What?
horrible things about my current husband. He patted my head and said he was glad I was okay, and that he came as soon as he saw my husband
Thanks,
left.
Dad 11.
He went into this rant about how he despises my current husband and wants to kill him.
That's
kept rubbing
awesome,
my
Sinister.
forehead and left the
Congrats,
room.
man.
I often have bad dreams about my ex-husband because of how toxic and abusive our marriage was, and why it ended, which I'd rather not include. I
Damn.
woke up in this drowsy, lightheaded state and looked around the room. There was a chair pulled up in front of my hospital bed, but no one was sitting in it. It wasn't like that when my husband left. It was still the middle of the night.
Hey, we're at
so I went back to
101
sleep.
likes. Let's go.
I woke up the next morning to the nurse in the room. I told her about the weirdly vivid dream I had, and she laughed and told me that wasn't a dream, that my cousin came to visit me last night. I told her I don't have any cousins that live in this state. She looked more serious now and said, well, someone who said they're your cousin David.
Oh my God, it wasn't a dream. The ex-husband came to the hospital and told the hospital that he was her cousin, but it was the ex-husband who was very abusive. He went in her room when she was all like drugged up, and he was standing over her bed. Oh my God.
Visited you late last night. David was the name of my ex-husband. After
My
explaining
name's
better,
David.
the nurse got a doctor. And the
No!
doctor told me the antibiotics may have
I-
caused delirium.
I swear
which
it was
hindered
not
my
me.
ability to recognize sleep from
I was not the
wakefulness.
David.
That's why I was so vividly hearing what David was saying. I called my husband to tell him what happened, and of course he was livid and concerned. He came back again that night after work. But that day, I texted David, asking what the hell he was thinking visiting me, and how did he know I was in the hospital. My text delivered, but he ignored it. I sent a follow-up.
He ignored
telling him I
it.
heard all
Yo.
his threats towards my husband, and that I'd be getting police involved.
What's up, Mike?
Minutes later, he responded saying, I never made any threats towards your husband. I was simply there when I heard what happened to make sure you were okay. You must have heard things in your sleep. I responded,
What's up,
stay out of my
Christopher?
life or I'll get police involved again. He didn't respond after this. I never told my husband about the threats I heard in my drowsy half-asleep state, because I didn't know if they were real or not. With a mix of the antibiotics and my already having...
That is true. If she was sick and she was on a bunch of antibiotics and different stuff and she was drowsy, you can hear things like that weren't actually said. So I remember years ago when my wife had our son, Andy, she was on a bunch of medication after she had Andy and she was in the hospital. And she said, that's creep. She said she saw like a black figure or something in the hospital room and she heard talking, but she was all like drugged up on different stuff at the hospital. So who knows? I don't know. Who knows what my wife saw, but it's kind of creepy.
Weird audible hallucinations the day before. I don't think it's impossible that what I heard wasn't actually what was said, but I could be wrong.
Mr. Baker, good night.
The next week.
Oh, dang. Creepy. Story 3 by R. Davidson.
I once matched this girl that I'm still friends with on Tinder, named Francesca. She seemed cool right from the bat. She had a sleeve of tattoos on her left arm, red highlights in her hair, and she had in her profile that she loved to work out. One of her pictures was taken on the rooftop of this cool-looking building with a sick view. I asked her where it was, and she told me it was some abandoned hospital on the edge of town that's super cool to explore at night and super easy to get into. There's usually one cop patrolling the huge parking lot at night to deter trespassers. But she said it was super easy to circumvent.
Yeah, Mike, I had a great holiday.
She came
Thanks.
up with the idea of us going there together as our first date of sorts, if you want to use the word date. I was totally on board with it. She seemed cool, and it seemed like a cool, different kind of way to meet someone as opposed to the usual let's get drinks. I picked her up from her house 10 minutes away. Then we drove the 20 minutes to get to the hospital. Those 20 minutes gave us a nice chance to get to know each other a bit and get comfortable with each other's personalities for a little. When we got to the hospital, she told me to park on this dead-end street hidden by a bunch of tall bushes, which was a 5-minute walk to the inside of the hospital. We hopped this little barrier separating the road from the hospital parking lot, and then we jogged across the wide-open lot towards the grass right next to the entrance she said she always used. She led us to this broken window to the basement of the hospital. It seemed kind of creepy, but I signed up for this. I was glad I wore raggy jeans like she told me to, because I knew I was going to rip them on something.
Why would you meet someone there?
Flashlights. We didn't bring any special heavy-duty lights or anything. She seemed to know this whole hospital like the back of her hand.
Yeah, Yoshi.
She led us to the stairway to the upstairs. I gotta say, being alone with one other person in a place like this at night was very scary.
That's very weird.
I had no idea how scary it was.
Why would you meet there?
On the first floor, Francesca kept talking so loud that I almost wanted to tell her to shh. I was paranoid we'd be found out because of her voice. Down the corridor we were in, it sounded like a door was opening or closing. Something
It's a
echoed down
setup.
the corridor to us.
Francesca's working with somebody.
I asked her in a whisper, "Is it normal for others to be here?" And she said sometimes, but not really. We turned off our flashlights and waited. Suddenly there was a bang, much closer to us now. We both scrambled in the dark. I followed her, barely able to see. We made it back to the stairway and ran up the stairs with our lights back on. When we were a couple levels higher, we felt it was okay to speak at a normal volume.
Well, I don't know if it's a setup because Francesca, this girl he's with, is like she's running with him. Like she seems scared too. So I don't know. Maybe it's not a setup.
Again. Francesca told me the police never come in here, so it may have been other explorers. But the weird thing was there was no sign of another light in that corridor. Nobody normal would be walking in the dark. Then we heard sounds echoing from the exit stair shaft, where we just were. Someone was coming up the stairs. Once again, we scrambled. She led the way, saying she knew where to go. We ran for a few minutes through this maze of a building.
Someone's coming up the stairs. Oh God,
like we
no.
were being followed, and I wasn't sure if I would rather have it been the cops or someone else. She led us to this mini outside spot. We weren't on the highest rooftop, but I guess we were on what you'd call the rooftop of this level. We stopped to catch our breath. The whole being followed thing was killing the vibe completely. Even she seemed concerned, and I looked her as the expert
Yeah,
with this place.
she's scared too,
For a
so
few minutes, we relaxed a bit.
she didn't set him
Went
up.
through this broken window into the ceiling of this one large room. This part was scary because she wanted to
Jigsaw
walk along
trap.
these long, narrow planks with a 10-foot drop.
Just give it a minute, guys. Sorry, it's acting up again. We were able to stream for like 2 hours with no issues, and now it's, I think it's working again. Just give it a minute. I thought I was going to be able to go the rest of the stream with no issues, but... Oh, man. At least I was able to stream for like 2 hours straight with no internet issues, but I think we're back. Sorry, guys.
Us. It sounded like someone walking. Our presence was already made known to whoever was in there. So we turned on our flashlights and aimed.
It's weird, guys, because my internet literally, like, I pay for fast internet. So I feel like it's not my internet, like if it's something with YouTube, because sometimes I'll do a whole stream, no issues. And then some nights the stream wants to randomly freeze. So I don't know, guys.
Them down below. And right below us, standing at the pillar, looking up at us, there was this 40-something-year-old man in a black Carhartt beanie, wearing a black jacket and black sweatpants. He smiled at us and said in this creepy deep voice, "Come on down," as he was waving us to come down. I asked, "Are you police?"
Sorry about that, guys.
He disregarded my question as if he didn't hear me and repeated, "Come on down," with his creepy smile. Francesca and I got up scared and started walking back across the narrow piece of wood. I was even more scared of falling now than before. I had no idea what that man would do to us.
Guys, I didn't think about this. What if a ghost is messing with my live stream? What if a ghost froze my stream?
We were about halfway across. The man hurried out of the room below us through a door. He was most definitely going to try to catch us. We had to hurry. We made it across and tried to get out of there, knowing that man was dangerous. As we were running down the stairs in a shaft on the opposite side of the hospital, we heard the door a few flights above us open and slam shut, and then footsteps stomping down the steps. He somehow had followed us. We were hauling ass as if we were running for our lives.
The Yesh
We made it
Ghost.
back to the first floor, and we ran back to the opposite side of the hospital where we entered from. We went back to the basement and climbed through the broken window. The whole process of climbing through
my
that window
internet's
was haunting,
haunted by
because I went out
ghosts.
second, and I was afraid my legs would be grabbed at any moment. But I think by that point we lost the man. We ran back across the parking lot back to my car, and when we made it, first thing we did was lock the doors and catch our breath again. That was a complete nightmare, and somehow, us getting through it together created a sort of instant bond between us. We drove away from there and stopped at a Wendy's to get food and just collect our thoughts in the car. We chilled for an hour just talking, and then I dropped her off. Francesca and I have stayed in contact through the years, and while we were romantically involved for a few months, we ended up just staying good friends.
Oh, apple cinnamon?
Neither of
That
us ever
sounds
returned to
good.
that hospital again.
Sounds good.